All right, here we go. Now the tournament begins for real. China versus Korea, the first of three matches. We have GenG versus BLG. This is a rematch of MSI semifinals, where BLG actually 3-0 GenG kind of out of nowhere. And everyone was expecting GenG and JDG to play against each other. GenG has been playing great, but China, maybe JDG has been the best team. So Billy, featuring Bin and Elk, using Yagao as a facilitator, have been working in. Now, as a scouting report against this team, this is a team synonymous with Jax and Bin. That's his best champion. He might be the best player. Elk is also a very good carry player. Yagao is the type of mid laner that tends to want to facilitate. He hasn't been a carry in a while. This is 7 years that he's been at Worlds. So he's a veteran player, not looking to be the flashy outplayer. If there's a difference in this lane, it's going to be Chovy's mechanics. Should be able to get some good trades and some good pushes off. Looking at the draft, we have Nico, Renekton, Xayah bans matched by Rakan, Maokai, and Sylas. It's very interesting to see the Xayah ban in blue 3 after we see Rakan on red 1 ban, because Xayah, the power of Xayah is, yeah, I mean, she's good. She's a good champion. But the power was to pick her blue 1 and then have the enemy team have to decide whether or not to leave up Rakan or to give you back power picks. And if they took Rakan, they're taking a fine support, a good support, but then giving you back power picks. And instead, like, you just don't need one piece without the other. If one of them's banned, you're basically banning out that possibility. So I'm surprised to see that. Anyways, the rest of the draft, we got Maokai and then Sylas, who is a fantastic pick for Chovy. He plays it probably better than anyone else in the world. Interesting enough, because Sylas normally comes in after Maokai. So again, it's one of those things, like one of those bans already usually begets another. But let's see how it plays into the pool. We see blue 1 Jax pick. Now I wonder if this was something that BLG had been planning on. They're probably thinking, man, they're either going to ban it or they're going to have something ready to pick against it. I don't think that it entered their mind to play against it like this, because they ended up spending a lot of time on this on the last pick of the draft going for it. But anyways, it's answered with Renata Kalista. Love to see this pairing. Renata is really showing out as a great champion for the metagame, where the aggressive champions that are very good into Kai'Sa especially pair well with Renata, right? Draven and Kalista are maybe her two best pairings. She amplifies their good laning state by revivifying them, but also with the extra on-hit passive from the auto attacks. So they're looking to take advantage of that with Kalista. If you've ever seen these two champions, when they hit together, they are making a big chunk of damage immediately, and then it makes it very easy for Kalista to follow up and go for the all-in. So I would like to see them go after that. In response, we see Azir and Aphelios, so going for the scaling. They say, we are going to outscale you. The rest of our draft is going to be early game oriented and facilitated around making this happen. We end up with further bans of Poppy Sejuani, which makes a ton of sense. Get rid of early game junglers. The response is Rumble Cassante to be gone. Get rid of the strongest remaining picks in the top lane. We see Jarvan come out in blue 4, responded with Rel, Tom Kench, and then Aatrox coming in on 5. And I'm not sure that he really wants to play Aatrox into Jax, but that said, it is Bin. Bin is the best Jax player in the world, so if he finds a window, it's going to be here. And Doran, while he has become better and better and better at these carry champions, and in fact showed out in the Korean finals on carries, Bin might just be saying, I'm on another tier, bro. And Doran even says that. Doran actually has ranked himself 10th. Actually, I think he put himself 11th because of subs. 11th out of 10 for top laner star power in the LCK. So this guy knows that he's a weak side player. He came up as a weak side player. He tends to not be a carry strength for the team, but they say, no, we can do this. Let's give you Jax. You're going to fight Bin with this. And I like that this sets the tone for the tournament, where you're playing a best of 5. And if you can tell them, hey, we can own you with Jax, if that happens, and then you have to force BLG to consider the fact that every time that you're red team, you might have to ban Jax because we'll just take it and stomp you with it. Could backfire, though. Could backfire. It's definitely a risky proposal. Another thing that's a little bit bizarre here, we see Rel, which can be flexed, but obviously they picked it blue 4, blue 5, so no flexing needed. They do pick Tom Kench. Tom Kench is going to sit there and just soak up some damage and peel for Aphelios whenever it comes up. Use the Devour to keep him safe. Rel has plenty of good engage, so they should be pretty happy. If there's something that this team doesn't have, it's like that guaranteed way to come in. Rel can do it with Flash W and R. Jax can do it with a good flank. Tahm Kench does not really have the tool. As support econ, you cannot afford to be Wing in to the team, and it puts you too far away from your Aphelios anyways. So it'll be interesting to see front to back team fights. You pick Aphelios into Callista, and so far it's undefeated into Callista, saying, all right, you want to go for aggro, we'll just play back and scale, and I will outscale you and beat you in the end game. So GenG is going to try to slow this game down to a crawl, whereas BLG is going to take over. Oriana, Aatrox, these are mid-game powerhouse team fighters. Renata, fantastic around the pit, and Jarvan, just one of those great initiators to make stuff happen. So very interesting draft to come out. Let's see how it goes into the game. All right, before we get into the game, I want to take a moment to say thank you. All right, you guys are being awesome as supporters of the channel. We have almost 1,000 new subscribers. So when we hit that mark, we're going to be doing a giveaway at the Academy. 10 hours, you can use it however you want, whether or not you want macro, micro, performance psychology, or whether or not you want to give it away to friends. You can work with your Clash team, whatever you want. We're here for you. All you need to do is like, subscribe, and comment on one of the videos at Worlds, and anyone who's done that over the course of this entire tournament will be entered for the sweepstakes. So again, thank you so much. Let's get on the game. All right, here we go. GenG, BLG, they get the spotlight. I like that we're getting some new animations, although those look pretty rudimentary. I feel like they could have done a little bit better. Right, please, hashtag. Bin. What is Bin? Bin's the closest thing that we have to a, you know, traditional superstar, outspoken, like Chad Ochocinco type player, Terrell Owens type, you know, this diva in the top lane that backs it up with his play, but is also outspoken about being the star, right? Knows that he has tons of fans. We had one of our best videos from last year was when he called himself Giga Bin. I was just like, yes, thank you. Giga solves everything. You go to the Giga level, almost made it. We need him to get that one step further. So we're cheering for him because there's nothing we'd like better than to proudly proclaim Giga on top of the world. But here we go. We get the early start. Callista and Renata. You see that big chunk right there being popped off from Tahm Kench. He will heal a significant amount of that back. Now, there's a little bit of a mix. You can go E first, thick skin on Tahm Kench to mitigate more of the damage if you feel like you're going to be getting into a fight. But the Q obviously has longer range harass. It also has a big amount of percent missing health sustain attached to it. So when you do connect with it, you're healing a lot of health back. So it tends to be the better modal option, whereas thick skin kind of just gets you into trouble. If you're playing the Senna Tahm Kench lane, though, and you're farming, thick skin can be considered. All right, let's see. Doran has already won the lane here, as you should. Jax versus Aatrox. Jax has a phenomenal level 1. Aatrox has a pathetic level 1. You're playing around super long cooldowns as we start the game, and we'll see whether or not they can take advantage of that. So Jax is going to cultivate exactly the lane state he wants. It looks like Rel is actually going for a fast gank into the bot lane. Jarvan's going to be in position to answer, so Rel may decide to come back. Either way, both junglers are now on a 3-camp path to start. And hold on, we get an invade. Peanut's going to have to jump over the wall. You can't fight against Jarvan this early. So early advantage to Peanut. Pathing from top to bottom. He's now closer to his camps. He also has an HP lead on Jarvan versus Rel. Now he's also in the vicinity, which means that Callista and Renata will have an easier time poking out this lane. They might even opt for a dive. You've seen way fewer dives this Worlds, largely because of the change in the minion time spawning. You used to get this wave, and then you'd have a 10-second window to then roam down to the bottom, right? So you'd go in as a jungler, you'd actually help to push this lane, then help to push this, then you'd help to push this, and you'd go and you'd dive 4v2. That's much harder to do now. I don't like that change. I really liked seeing the proactivity from the teams, but they want to make the games kind of last longer, be a little bit more predictable in how they play out. More about your laning skill and less about just everyone just diving bot lane. That's why they made those teleport swaps, and that's why they changed the speed of the waves. But anyways, they're going to go for it anyways. Let's see who picks up aggro. Should be Renata. Renata grabs one, but is going to die back. Actually, super squishy, gets right under the turret, flashes, but not out of range. So a missed execution there by BLG. They are happy to kill Pays, but Pays does get a kill back, which means he's actually just going to feel great about this early back. He's going to have a gold lead now in Callista as well, and Tahm Kench is going to harass this. So that went very, very poorly for BLG. GenG is going to be feeling very, very good. Oh my goodness, I love it when they have this perfect time. Peanut just knew. I mean, they had the ward down, so he had the tick as well. But let's take a look at the dive, right? You grab the aggro, and then you immediately want to pop in. So on right there, that's a missed flash. He went for an extra auto attack before stepping in. He wanted to secure the kill, ends up stepping back in. In a way, you'd actually rather dive first, have that respawn come up and bring you back to life, and then go for the rest of the hit. So that's something that they want to have back. That's a very tricky timing to do. It is possible with Renata, but very, very tricky to accomplish. And Bin doing what he's done, he's actually going to create a slow push coming back. He'll use that for his own tempo. Ended up with a quick back and a teleport to just get a second Doran's item to try to take over this matchup. Jax is going to take his first back with slightly more CS. We'll see if he comes back with Sheen plus Longsword or if it's just Sheen. Yeah, just Sheen. No, Sheen and Ruby Crystal, actually. So he's going for the extra health. Wants to be able to live long enough to get a second Counter-Strike off and make it count. Now BLG got the shove in. Kind of surprising coming off of that last purchase, right? We had Kerch's Shard compared to Vamp Scepter. They did have the assist on Kalista, so it wasn't like it was a dead weight. It was also first blood, right? So we're talking about an extra 100 gold that went over to her for that, and she had the XP, and they didn't quite get the plate. So I'm surprised that she was able to get that much bigger of a shop off. Maybe there was a missed cannon in there that we weren't able to see. Peanut's coming in. We have the slow. Renda's going to come out. They're going to try to turn this, but it's too late. Kalista is very good with that Renata. What is it? W, right? Coming back to life, but isn't going to be able to do anything. Hold on. We got level 6s going in. Bin might just take this over. This might be a huge problem. There's no teleport available here. Now, that was interesting by Jax to use his teleport the first time to then come back to this lane. Felt like a really big miss. So what we saw is the early teleport, you have double Doran's items, all right? So you come back with 2 Doran's. That means you're going to win the lane and you're going to be able to push back. And the wave was positive. We saw the moment that we froze and we saw up top, we had 3 casters versus 2 right about here. So that is inevitably going to push in. That was a perfect window for Jax to step back and walk back to lane. The fact that he teleported gave Bin this window to go for these super aggressive trades saying, yeah, I'm on double Doran's. I'm just stronger than you, fella. And we're actually going to make this fight happen. Hold on, Chain CC. They bait him just enough. And he's able to get that wonderful position, but then not able to get it all the way in. Doran actually holding down that line, keeping the lane in the happy spot, making it so that Rel can get that engage. So beautiful pathing by Peanut to be in position. It looks like they're also going to get a control ward, so that's an extra 105 golden experience for them. Jax gets the push in and actually turns it into a nightmare for Bin now. So it went from nightmare for Jax into nightmare for Aatrox with that play. That is the effect of junglers. That is why it's so OP, and you can expect Season 14 jungle is going to be way, way weaker. Freak has already talked about it on stream, that there is orders of magnitude available for nerfing this role, and it still won't matter. All right, so we see Jax's push. Check that out. 80% of the plate, it'll be sitting pretty for him. He also gets to walk back to lane, and he's basically only going to miss 1 or 2 melees as he comes back up. So perfect situation for him. Would have preferred that he just walked back the first time. Would have, maybe wouldn't have baited Aatrox into that decision to go for the dive, but also would have opened up plays where he'd have another walk back. He could even go and try to play for bot lane while they go get Herald. And instead, all of those are off. All right, Hex Flash going in. We're using W and R together. Kalista dashes out and uses the ultimate to get Renata out, as you are wont to do. All right, we're going to see a trade here for probably Eastern Quadrant camps. Rel should have a heads up that the Herald is going, so should be looking to take over all these camps. Maybe, let's see, killing the Kalista sentry. She does go in. Finally wakes up to it. Here's the scream on the map. Good job by Doran, stepping up, moving outside of the range here. Soon is actually going to hold this wave, trying to put it, and you'd like to bundle it up, actually. You actually want to, when you're peeling this wave for a proxy farmer like Aatrox, you actually just want to walk right past it. You've got the caster line and the melee line. Just walk here and stand here, and this line will come stand next to you. Then Aatrox can come here and then Q1, Q2 on top of the wave and just basically burst it down together, especially when you have the armor shred from your Q. And the burst there is to threaten Jax from ever stepping up. Flash over the wall. Good job by Yagao. Chovy actually looked like he was just going for a little bit of a trade there. Once you put your EQ to shuffle like that, you don't have the second Q to then throw it at them, right? You've got to use EQ into the push and then throw your soldiers over at them. Oh, beautiful engage there by Jarvan, finding a very good angle to get a 3-man berserk off. The problem is that Renata holding that down. That spell is kind of fake at early levels, right? It's good. It holds people down, but 0.75 seconds, right? This is enough for one auto attack. And that's it. And like, that's enough if you have some chain CC, you've got something else you can do. We see right there, we've got enough continuation where it's good, but that's all Jarvan, right? That's Jarvan's effect, not Renata. All right, so they're feeling pretty good. They've got the auto procs here. Gonna come over, get the W off onto everybody. Hold on. I mean, there's your angle. You absolutely want to hit everybody with that. So he misses it the first time, catches up, sees it the second time, flashes out, doesn't have EQ anymore. Would have preferred to use the R and then EQ his way out. They end up getting everything. They shove them out as well, and they end up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Some of these are zombie wards. We're talking about 8 wards around the dragon right now, so they will have the prio on that. They'll be getting a 2-0 lead in dragons, unless something really fishy comes up. Kench harassing to try to fight for this ward. I mean, really, he's just trying to slow down the play. He's spending some of his time without presenting much risk to himself, right? You see him step back, not really going for that third auto on the ward, taking the small amounts, sidestepping, make sure to not take any damage back, but take a little bit of time off their bank. $11:15 in game. All right, we're back in. So we're saying Tahm Kench, spending a little bit of time so that they have to stay together. It means that they can't just syncopate their backs. They can't get the faster tempo play off where you just leave the jungler at the very end. Everyone stays together just in case there's a play to be had. So Tahm Kench buys his team some extra time by staying there. Now Renata working in, getting some more vision right here. Orianna tends to be more powerful in a vacuum than Azir, just for the strength of the team fight, but has that issue that inside lanes, just being less mobile, means that she can be ganked a little bit easier, especially with champions with lockdown effects. You've got long range jump from Rel and from Tahm Kench. You've got Azir to push. And now that the ultimate's back up, you see how Renata spent a little bit of time right here. This is to help protect the Orianna from her right side. So now she can be very, very comfortable about leaning right at any moment in the lane. The mid laners will always favor the side that their jungler is on or the side that the vision is on. Hold on, we see an engage. They know that everyone's top side, so they say, okay, let's go for this 2v2. We know we win. They go for a big chunk of damage here. What was that? Kind of seemingly stood still. It was just the root from Aphelios, it must have been. It looked weird because it looked like she did this. Maybe she was just emoting. One shot to kill the turret. The turret not nearly as strong as it used to be. So much more of the white gun's power just moved into the chakrams. Elk has grown himself a 10 CS lead here. We'll get the first back. We'll be turning this into an item. Hold on, we see the shuffle. We scoop up. Rel goes in. Q flash into W. Doesn't even need to use the ultimate. Or do they? Probably not. Done. Rel gets to keep her ultimate. You get to keep on playing side to side. Beautiful play by Chovy. When we talk about this game, we have to give a big advantage here. We have to give a big advantage here. We assume that we have to give a big advantage here for Peanut. Pays and Elk are probably pretty close, but I'll give a small advantage to Pays because this guy was so good that he took Ruler's job. Like, you have to remember that. And Delight, potentially all pro, whereas On is just not, right? And this is really the biggest difference on the whole team, I think, is support. The biggest, superstar showdown is going to be mid and bot. Be interesting to see who ends up getting the outplays. We've seen Orianna's get pushed in a lot by Azirs, some of them with Conqueror, some of them with Hail of Blades. It's interesting to see how they deviate between the two. Conqueror, Azir being very strong in a continuation fight if you feel like you're going to have to chase people over time, or if you think that you're going to be starting off with an engage. For example, EQ, right? So you put W out, you E to it, you Q off. You're going to get 2 hits. The soldiers colliding and you colliding, then your ultimate hitting, you throw them, you get the auto attack. So you've got 4 different stacks that basically just goes like this. You get Conqueror very, very quickly when you are being the one that is throwing yourself into the fight to then scoop people back. You get those stacks as Azir very quickly. So that's why you're looking for the difference there. Feeling like it's going to be more about a chase for these highly, highly mobile champions. That said, Jarvan and Orianna should bring most fights to you. You might find areas where they try to go forward into one area. Orianna's going to try to get that ball to go off on the Jarvan EQ. Azir might answer by trying to get onto Kalista and throw Kalista into the Jarvan and then have all the AoE damage being dealt there. Largely, this Orianna ball is going to try to go onto the carries. Hold on, we'll talk about this fight. Herald's coming over. We've got 5 people here from GenG. 5v5. We've got a slobber knocker. Renata always wins in the pits. Kalista also much stronger here. I'm very, very surprised that GenG is here. We talked about it during the draft. Outscale, outscale, outscale. Why are you fighting? Right? You can even make an argument for Rel to outscale Jarvan because Jarvan is just so incredibly good at the early stages. Right, the one difference you have in scaling is this enchanter right here with a broken ultimate for the pit fights. Why is GenG offering them that fit? That is just a huge miss conceptually, right? Like, you just don't want this fight. Also, just objectively, you're losing already, right? You're down. Your team has less gold in inventory for these fights. Perhaps they're saying, hey, we're pretty close. It's just about even. Things are going to get worse. Maybe we can fight right now. We find the window, but you really don't, right? Like, Kalista is just so incredibly strong here compared to Aphelios. Korean fans are going to be a little bit upset about that. And now BLG gets their second prize, right? So they got the Herald. No, did they not get Herald? Who actually got the Herald? I don't see it in the inventories. It must have popped out while we weren't looking. I have to know. 352. Okay, Jarvan got it. All right, here we go. We're back live. It was Jarvan that got it. Used it immediately. Get that pressure down in the mid lane. Orianna's going to go collect herself a nice little prize here as well. We're going to get an answer from Chovy. Azir passive, one of the worst in the game until you can get, like, it's a blank passive. It does nothing for getting you ahead in the game. You need to do that with your kit and with your movements. That is why tempo is so important on Azir. And then that when you do place that turret, it tends to just be a stationary, like, okay, I've got a little bit of extra presence here. Usually it's best in those mid lane sieges. When you're setting up, you want to push to the tier 2, for example, so you can turn on the passive here, continue to push, and then once you get the push, you get the inside track to the Baron pit. So see if he uses that in that way later. Chovy, as always, has gotten a CS lead for himself, 181 CS, 10 per minute. Despite there being, a decent amount of action, we've had 2 ultimates in the solo lane. You had the big team fight that the team lost, right? Somehow he was still able to get out and to not really miss a beat. So I feel like GenG lost track of what they're supposed to be doing, right? Like, you want to get to 24 minutes where everyone on your team has 2 items, support has 1, and you want to be less than 5k behind. And if you're there at that point, you're feeling good. You've got 2 items on all your carries. That's the stage in the game when they're looking to take it over. They're capable of taking over the game. And really at 3 items is where we're going to flip around that 30-minute mark. That's the window that you're looking for GenG to try to fight. Now, BLG is putting a little bit of pressure on them with these early 3 dragons. Frankly, they should give up D4 and then fight for Elder, right? So we're talking about 3 minutes to the spawn here. So we're looking at 22-minute where this dragon's going to go down. So we're talking about 28 minutes. It's in that window. 22, still probably too early, right? This window is going to be before we get 2 completed items, unless Chovy's able to get it because he's unique. If he's able to get that completed second item, and we're talking, you know, not inexpensive items either. If they're able to get those spikes, they might consider going for that 4th dragon fight. But honestly, giving soul and then playing for the all-ins later and trying to get the scaling would have been much better. They would have been in a much better spot if they hadn't contested for this Herald, right? The fact that they contested means they necessarily lost golden experience trying to go for a fight. It was only going to get worse. Maybe they're feeling the pressure. If I'm BLG, 22 minutes, I'm actually not rushing for D4. I'm going to use D4 as bait, and I'm going to look to try to get Baron instead. Get them looking this way. And when they look this way, you go and get the Baron for yourself, and then you can get more base damage, and then the dragon's sitting there. What you actually don't want is to go get this soul and then have the Elder spawning as the other team's spiking. Now, they might say that, hey, we can get this online by 28 minutes, and that's still going to be before 3 items for the carries here. And if we can do that, we should. All right, and there's an argument for that. So that's where this adaptation comes up. That's where the comms need to be coming in. It's, hey, do we actually want to take this like right on spawn and try to go for Elder? Or should we just leave it up and fork the Baron and force them to come over and defend, right? Because we definitely don't want to give soul and give, we don't want to get soul, give Baron. Get soul, give Baron is the worst case scenario for BLG. It's exactly what GenG should be trying to do. So they're doing the opposite. You see how they have all these wards out here? You see how they're connecting some dots for themselves right here, a couple control wards. What they're trying to do is set themselves up so that they'll be able to move over into this vicinity, create mid push, hopefully kill this turret so that they can stick an Azir turret right there, and then play for the flip, right? Let the wave seesaw. You guys pick a direction, we'll go the other direction and try to get this. But Baron is absolutely the fight that they want to go for. And in fact, if they gave up Baron with the losing position that they're in right now, their entire base would go into shambles. They would certainly lose 3,000 gold from all of these inner turrets, and then probably lose an inhibitor as well. All right, so the fork is coming up. 20 seconds to dragon. This is, to me, the most important and the most interesting part of the professional game is how they manage this. How are they looking? You see how it's all centered around mid prio. Everyone needs to win mid. We're talking about Azir turret coming up. We're talking about wards going down. They're fighting for everything. Little bits of poke damage, using spells to, using shields to block spells, putting everything on cooldown that you can that has any amount of influence. Control word, control word. Now, I like this answer from BLG. We're going to send one person over to the dragon. We're going to go up and just take this on. I'd like to get a catch on items. Peanut looking for a little bit of a reach, but Callista going to be very happy. Now, I don't actually want her dancing back and forth because your camera should not even be on your own screen here. Your camera should be over here to see how this fight is going. BLG plays this really well. They get the dragon without giving up any amount of Baron pressure. Now they're going to look to go strong. They've got the soul. They've got the spikes. They're a much stronger team right now. There hasn't been a shop, so we haven't gotten those second items in inventories. So this is just going to favor BLG. GenG should not be taking this fight. They had to realize that BLG came up with the perfect answer. They should have gone back out into the waves, try to get more gold for their team. You cannot fight yet. This is the only guy, and that's because his name is Chovy and he has near perfect CS. So they give up the Baron. If you are BLG, something you can do and you ought to do, wait for this timer to get a little bit lower. All right, right now they pick it with 5. So this timer, the respawn is still going to have 2 minutes on it. The problem with that is that if they're able to defend your Baron, they're still going to have 2 minutes left to walk their way back out onto the map before the Elder spawns. You would like to have your Baron up until 30 seconds before the Elder spawns so that you can create pushes, really threaten this entire quadrant, right? 1 here, 4 here, threaten both, and then be able to move back or take empowered recalls with Baron and then come back to the Elder pit right on time while they're dealing with waves. Instead, they're going to have it earlier. It means that they're going to get these pushes. Now, another point of contestation, this is not up for 4:30. Normally, you want to get a push up here. Until there's less than 3 minutes on the objective, you don't need to move into the same quadrant. They're opting, it looks like, for a 1-3-1. Callista's actually by herself. If GenG can realize this, they might find a window to go for it. Aphelios on 2.5 items, Azir on 2 items, so they are feeling reasonably strong. Like we said, this is about the turning point where they're going to feel like they can contest these fights, and at 3 items, they'll absolutely feel great about it, even versus Soul, right? This does not compare to the strength of these champions on 3 items if we get that far. All right, so we're opting for 4 down in the bot lane, fighter in the middle. This is much more conventional. Now that we're getting closer to that 3-minute window, it makes a little bit more sense. You see how they haven't fought for any vision in this quadrant yet, though? They're still fighting. There's a deep teleport ward here, and there's a control ward in a nice safe pocket, stopping any of the rotations. GenG is aggressively playing for the defense right here. I wonder if they're going to get collapsed on. BLG could look for the dive here. They've got stopwatches, so they could go for multi-man dives using multiple stopwatches. What I assume they're doing is getting more push pressure, and then they're going to try to get another round of vision improvements, and only after that will they go and try to continue it. Aatrox has the absolute advantage here, up 2 levels on versus Jax. This will be the last time Jax makes it through the pick and ban phase. You tried your strategy of trying to hoodwink them and ends up getting nothing. Shockwave whiffs. All right, so actually GenG has a slight advantage. I don't mind the usage. You're talking about nearing the end of the Baron, and you want to make sure that it's up in time for the Elder. So I don't mind a little bit of fishing as long as your team recognizes that you're missing an ability and you have to be that much more cautious. Look at the permanent damage Aatrox is getting on that turret. Gen, however, adamantly fighting. We're talking about last stand at the Alamo defending this thing right here. They are trying to step up, but you see this low range composition. Immobile Orianna, low range Callista. Jarvan's trying to help them out with the buff from the E, but it's just not quite doing enough. They're able to get in, but that range advantage of Aphelios and Azir able to rip into you. If you're going for the turret, they're trying to hit you with everything that they've got to try to push you away. Like this ward right here. Pretty soon after these turrets go down, you're going to see this control ward move in and just be right in front of the meatball. Peanut stepping back. They know that Orianna's ultimate's coming back up, so this is going to be the last push down on the bot wave. They ended up only getting 2 inners with this Baron, so a very nice defense here by GenG. You also have a completed item now from the Rel. You have 2.5. Aphelios is going to be picking up their 3rd item soon after this staunch defense, and Azir is going to be in an okay position as well. Recalls come in, but they haven't gotten any amount of vision to call an advantage as they approach this Elder. So GenG is going to look to get out into the river. I'd like to see a ward here and a ward here, as well as one in the lane, right? So if you can't have the minion wave, you need to create advantage with a ward. You need to go out and kind of plug it there. You probably want to keep it away from them who might be sweeping in this direction. So I'd recommend it right there against that middle wall right here. Just enough to see people that are passing by. This right here, most important ward you'll ever place in any game. So many fights around these pits go into this bush, so you absolutely want to have that vision turned off. If you're blue team, you can always get this pocket as well. Nice spot, a nice little resource for a ward. Now this ward does not see that corner of the pit, so it is a potential exploitation that you can make against this ward. You can still get yellow vision in there and have that more prominent and permanent vision source. See how they move their way in slowly. They gain prio. They walk together. They move up together. And together they're going to create this web of vision until they get what they want. They see what they get. Jarvan trying to ultimate the Tahm Kench, saying that if you're going to devour anybody, you're stuck in here. They get a big chunk of HP away. Look at Ben. He's actually fighting for the juicy fruit, saying, no, I'm going to use this to keep it away from Peanut. Peanut, if you want to be in this fight, you're going to stay at quarter health. Orianna ultimate being used just to peel. I'd like to see dragon health. It's at 4,000. We're not all being used. That means that the dragon's going to be theirs, but they should stop the fight. They should just go win. Instead, they don't need to. They get Jarvan Smite plus Callista combo around the pit, and you see the strength of this lane and these units. Too much was given up to get this pick on blue 1. That's the strength of a superstar, right? You have this guy on this champion saying you got to do something about this. And they tried to do something. They said, hey, we're gonna ban you out by picking it. We're gonna block you. Didn't quite work out well. There were opportunities. Doran certainly had an opportunity to just walk back the first time and walk back the second time, which would have opened doors for plays in the bot lane plus teleport. Would have made it easier for their team to go for the Herald, or even just had Jax solo pushing in the bot lane. So there's definitely things that GenG can improve. This looked like a little bit of nerves, honestly. And BLG, you know, despite how good GenG has looked, BLG 3-0'd them at MSI. So that's going to be lingering now. They've lost 4 consecutive games to this team. That's going to start weighing on their psyche. BLG with a dominant performance.